Do you think there'll be much change with the new administration?
Well, I'm waiting to see what the new administration is. If it's Obama, then we at least we have a hope. If only hope. If it's McCain, then no. I think if it changes, it's just going to get worse, if anything. But with Obama, I always relate back to JFK, and I say, if you try and change the system, if you're in a war and you as the president alone, without the blessing of the military, decide that you're going to pull out, some things may happen that may stop that from taking place. So, and that's the other thing is that I try and help people to see is that it's not really kings, it's not really rulers, presidents or prime ministers that decide these things. It's the system that's already in place. Between the triad of business, king, and the military, who really decide what's happening.
For people who see your play and are inspired, where do you suggest they look for more information on this sort of thing? More like real information about about
well,
this?
I have a website. If they can go to the show website, which is listenjoinresist.com, and on there I have just some recommended reading material. Some interesting books, I call them, a list of interesting films, and interesting websites, that people can go to. So, there's so much information out there. I've tried to list what I think are the better sources of information, because there are some quite hysterical sources of information, which I wonder whether they are placed there purposefully. But there have been a lot of books written by some very sane people, some very well-respected people who are well-respected in their field long before they chose to write about empire building or 9/11. So there's a lot of very well-respected authors out there. There's a lot of great books. I think maybe the first place I would recommend going to is Chomsky, reading some Noam Chomsky, because putting 9/11 to one side for a minute, if you just read Chomsky, who is, I think, the head of linguistics at MIT, an incredibly well-respected author who's been around for decades and writing very frankly about America and how it does business with the rest of the world. And if you just read those books and realize that what he's saying is true, nobody really refutes it because you can't. And so if you just read that and realize, for example, the genocide that the UK and US governments inflicted upon the Iraqi people through their sanctions, through their economic sanctions in the First Gulf War. If you just look at that and realize what UNICEF was saying, that I think it was over 100,000 children died in Iraq because of those sanctions. Just accepting that as being, okay, that is how governments operate, that is how our governments operate, that this is real, this is the truth. You don't have to believe any conspiracy theory. This is just fact. This is UNICEF, as quoted by Chomsky. So yeah, if you just read those books and see what's actually happening when we do things like that, impose sanctions or go to war, what the actual effect of it is, then I think it will put people's minds in a place where they're slightly more open to accept other things. What else? If our governments are willing to kill that many people, for the sake of I don't know what the stake is in imposing sanctions. I mean, it's basically to prep a country for war, so they destroy the infrastructure, remove vital services and people who can do vital work, just to destroy a country from within, really, which is really, really sick. So when you see the truth of that, then it becomes obvious that these, by comparison, a couple of thousand people dying here or dying there compared to 100,000 children. I mean, it's entirely possible. It's entirely plausible. So I think Chomsky is a great place to start because, he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's head of MIT, just writing books about what governments do.
Do you think there's much hope for us in the face of the kings and the fools that are out there?
There's always hope, yes. Like I said in my play. There's definitely hope because, if you can turn the mind of one person, then you really can change the world. If every single, if each person turned the mind of one person, you know what I mean, and so on and so on and so forth, then there could absolutely be a revolution in the way we look at the world and the way we treat each other. Definitely. I think that's what Gandhi hoped for. I think that's what Martin Luther King hoped for. I think that's what John Lennon hoped for. So definitely there is hope. Obviously, these rulers, these kings, won't go down without a fight, and so I don't know what the outcome of that will be, but I think maybe the answer is to try and like the veteran. If you get a guy who, one month he was the bad guy, he was the guy, behind the gun, shooting the bullets at the innocent civilians, and the next minute he's speaking out about it and saying, I did the wrong thing. This is what I've done. Look at what's happening here. So definitely, if that guy can change, then anyone can. So the police can, the military can, anybody can. So and whilst we're still able to talk about this, then there's definitely still hope. Definitely.
Okay, cool.